Okay, Freilich and Hanukkah, thank you for all of you joining us. For those of you who've not seen this yet, this is a shout out to Howard Sternberg. Thank you for the mug. Have you seen this before, by the way? I love rabbis. Yeah? And then if you turn it sideways, it says, press which rules. So, anybody who, this is a, I guess, single model. Anybody else who wants this, you'll have to make your own. Okay. I do apologize for my, hey, Stephen. I do apologize for my call tonight, but we're going to try to get through the share anyway. Let's see what we can get done. Okay, I'd like to start with the following idea. A very important idea. I think when we read the Torah, we get a bit of a mixed message, or almost a wrong message about who Yosef is. If I were to ask you, if you didn't know anything, if you didn't know we were in the Torah and you didn't know we were talking about people like the Shvatim, people like Yosef, what would you say if you looked at this Torah, if you looked at it? I mean, I once said to somebody the following sentence. I said, do you really think if God wanted to choose a nation, he wanted to choose a people, he would have chosen a people that was dysfunctional, that came from such a dysfunctional family like Yosef's family? Yeah? Where they get into all sorts of arguments and fights about colored coats and selling their kids, selling their brothers, and their brother make it down, and they go down into Egypt, and then he gets sold out to slavery, and after he gets sold out to slavery, then he ends up in this jail, and after he ends up in jail, he becomes the king, and now he's the king, he's the viceroy, second in command of Egypt, and you'd expect, okay, the man second in command in Egypt, what would you expect of him to do? Do something positive, do something good. Right? What does he do? Okay, he feeds the entire country. Then he feeds the entire country. Finally, his brothers come down. There should be this great reunion. He should say, guys, it's me. None of that. He makes himself like a stranger to them. He speaks to them really, really harshly. Where are you from? You are just spies. And they said, no, we're not spies. We came from Israel. We have all one father. And he's giving them a whole story. This is what we're going to do. You have to stay here. You're going to go. He takes Shimon and he sticks him into jail. First he takes them all, sticks them into jail. Then he takes Shimon, keeps him. He sends him up. He says, you have to bring down Reuben. It's this whole story. And then they came down again. And then he puts the money and the cup back into the bags of these people. And then he makes them come down again, come back. And he says to them, from now on, I'm going to keep Binyamin as my slave. And you read this story and you say to yourself, who are these people? The Jeremy Kyle show is not good enough for these people. It's too good for these people. I mean, like what's going on? And yet I think there are one or two things that if you read, you get an idea of who they are, then you can understand that we must be talking about something deeper. Okay? The first thing that I want to mention to you is the following. I mentioned this morning in Yavne Boys School. They give him the whole spiel. They tell Yosef exactly what's going on, and they go through the whole story again. And it says, Yosef could not hold himself back anymore. All of everybody who's standing there, and he calls out, everybody out! Yeah, out of the pool. Big whistle, everybody out of the pool. Nobody was with him. And Yosef revealed himself to his brothers. And then he starts crying and he says to them, Ani Yosef, and they couldn't answer him. But it's an amazing thing to think about. You have over here Yosef, and Yehuda just said to Yosef, according to one of the translations, he says, if you get any closer to me, I will kill you and I will kill Pharaoh. So he's not exactly being friendly. He's not turned around to Yosef and said to him, Yosef, we're good friends. No, they're not. He's told him exactly what he thinks of him. Right? And now Yosef says, everybody out. That means he got rid of his guards and he got rid of ministers. There was not a single person there. And now he's in mortal danger. And only then does he say, Ani Yosef Achichem. Why does he do that? The reason he does it is because he does not want to embarrass his brothers. Says Rabbeinu Yerucham, and this is an amazing thing, to understand the power inside Yosef to say that even though I can't hold myself anymore, even though I'm feeling this emotional need to unburden myself, not on the cheshbon of the brothers. I'm not going to do that to them. I'm not going to embarrass them in front of everybody, because there was embarrassing enough what he had done to them until now, and it was embarrassing. Can you imagine when, you thought you had this guy and you had him buried and he was sold, etc., and this guy came up with all these dreams and you thought his dreams were rubbish and you sold him to Egypt, and now finally comes a moment of truth, and Yosef looks at all of them and he says, I'm Yosef. I don't know about you, but if I was standing there, those trapdoors that you see in the... You just want those trapdoors to open. You want to sink into the ground.
So why didn't you tell them the first time around?
Okay, it's a good question. It's a very, very good question. There's a lot of discussion about the fact that Yosef wanted to fulfill the dreams. Why he wanted to fulfill the dreams is a different discussion. There's yesterday I was looking for a Ber Yosef that speaks about the idea that Yosef wanted the dreams to be fulfilled. I'm not sure why he needed the dreams to be fulfilled, why I couldn't leave it up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's a lot to be spoken about there. But now Yosef realized, I can't anymore. I can't get to the point of fulfilling the dreams. I've reached my maximum. And even though he had reached his maximum, he still had the frame of mind to think about somebody else. There's a famous story that Rabbi Krohn tells, an amazing story. He says there was a Rosh Yeshiva who was up in the Catskill Mountains, and he was having chest pains, and they brought him into a hospital, and they started working on him, and they came out. Nebuchadnezzar had passed away, and his wife was sitting there, and she's waiting for the news. And he came out, this guy, the Hatzalah member had to come out to her, and he looks at her and he says, my dear lady, I'm so sorry to tell you, but your husband's passed away. And she looks at the Hatzalah member and she says, thank you, it must have been so hard for you to tell me that. And he said, imagine the frame of mind of a human being to be able to say when they've just lost their husband, but it must have been so hard for you to tell me that. What does it take for a person? A person needs to be so exact in everything they do. Every action is thought out. I remember Rav Leuchter, there's somebody in Eretz Yisrael by the name of Rav Leuchter. You know Rav Leuchter, yeah? Leuchter, he's Swiss, and he's very, very strong in the way he speaks, and sometimes he gets very animated, and then he screams, So he's telling this story, how he was once giving his kids a shower, and he realized that he had to make it to a shir for 6:30 from Mashgiach. Mashgiach was Rav Wolbe, that was his Mashgiach, that was the person that he looked up to, his Rebbe, and he wanted to hear shir. Now, Rav Leuchter is about 6'4", and the Mashgiach Rav Wolbe is about 5'2", right? Tiny little fellow. Remember, I saw Rav Wolbe many times. He used to come to Yeshiva in Kol Torah, used to come to the Mir to speak. He was considered one of the preeminent mashgichim, one of the preeminent thinkers and guides, Torah guides in his generation. He passed away probably 10, maybe not 10 years ago, a little bit more than 10 years, probably like 12, 15 years ago, something like that. More like 12, something like that, right? Very, very important person. And he said, I was giving my kids a shower and I realized it was 6:20 and I didn't know I was going to make it. I wasn't going to make it to the shir. He says, and I finally got the kids and I got them into towels. I yelled to my wife, I'm going! And I ran out of the house and I charged down the steps. This is Israel. She just charged down the steps and I went out and I had to cross the road and I crossed the road and I threw open the door and bang! I hit Rav Wolbe flat in the back with the door. He was standing at the door ready to give shir. Boom! That's what happened. And he said, at that point, he says, I just froze. And he says, Rav Wolbe walked straight up to his podium, turned around, and started giving shir. And he said, at the time, he says, it takes an amazing amount of self-control to be able to do that. But he got very, very animated about this point, and it's true. He says, if your self-control is not such that before you do anything you think, if you're an instinctive person, what's going to happen automatically is, boom, who was that? Right? It's too late to start thinking now, should I or should I not turn around? Rav Wolbe was so thought out that before he turned around, he said to himself, do I turn around now? Do I not turn around? No, I will embarrass the person that threw the door at me. I'm not turning around. And so he didn't. He just went straight to the podium. That's koyach hanefesh. That is the power that is available to a person to have inside his soul. That is something that he can do, right? And that's what Yosef is doing over here. Yosef is saying to himself, I feel I can't handle it anymore. And he still doesn't, but he calls everybody out. Before he embarrasses everybody in public, he still sends everybody out. He doesn't want them to know. That's an amazing thing, just to give you an understanding of who Yosef is. Yosef's not this impulsive guy who's got nothing better to do with himself rather than taunt the brothers and show them he was right and they were wrong. Right? Yosef really, as you can see, that's what I'm showing you. He's not impulsive. You can see that Yosef over here wasn't impulsive. He thought about it. Wait a minute. You know, we know people, I don't know how many people you know like this, but I know a few people like this. When they get into emotional situations or where they get into uncomfortable situations, they talk rubbish. You ever had that? You know, I don't know. You know, I'm going to keep the story to myself because it's too private a story. But you know, let's go. But it's whatever. It's a funny story that you know that I can't really share with you. But the basic idea was that. All right, you know, I can't go there. Fine. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to pull out on this story. It's fine. I can pause this and tell you the story as is. Yeah. You want me to pause this and tell you the story? when I'm finished. That's what the people who come live get to hear. What you on the computer don't. Right?
25 minutes.
Pardon? 125 people in the room next week. What was the story? Sorry, I didn't tell it.
You're not paying.
You're not paying, right? You know, it's very funny. But the truth is, you can see from this. You can see that Yosef wasn't just who we think he is. And then you look further down in the story. Yosef says the following verse: "Ve'ato and now alte otzvu, don't be sad. Ve'yicha beinechem, and don't let it be angry in your eyes. Ki mechatem asihena, that you saw me here. Ki lemichyo shlachan elkim lifnechem, because God sent me here to be able to feed you. Because there's already been 2 years of famine. And another 5 years where there's not going to be any plowing, there's not going to be any harvesting. God sent me in front of you so that you should have leftovers in this land and allow you to live on and to have a tremendous amount of extras. Yosef is making the brothers feel better. I mean, if you were Yosef, if that whole story happened to you, would you not get up and say, wait a minute, and now that I have introduced myself, let me just tell you where we're up to. The last 22 years were hell. The last 22 years, I got sold a few times. I ended up in this house of Potiphar. I had this woman, that's crazy lady that was jumping at me left, right, and center. I finally resisted all the temptations. I got thrown into jail. I was in this terrible jail for 10 years. If you look at the time, frame, he was over 10 years in jail, because the story of Ashes Potiphar happened after a year, about a year he was in Egypt, 9 years at the end, so that's 10 years, so that's 12 years that he sat in jail. 12 years. This wasn't a jail like we have here in England. There was no cable television. There was no Premier League football. There was no nothing. There was rats and darkness. That's what you got for 12 years. So I got sold. I got accosted by some crazy lady. When I finally showed some strength to hold back from her, I got thrown into jail. I was in jail for 12 years. You guys are awful. You guys are the worst thing that, you know, you call yourself brothers? You call yourself human beings? Sorry excuse for a human being. Instead, what is Yosef saying? Guys, take it easy. You thought it would be bad? Look at the goodness that God has given me. Look how wonderful. Look how wonderful. Yeah, guys, don't get upset. Don't get upset. This is, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. I mean, it's not a big deal. I think they should be apologizing to him, not him apologizing to them. Okay, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Yeah? Sometimes it feels like, the wife has done something wrong and the husband gets all upset. And then the wife starts crying and the husband says, all right, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's like, no, she, who did what? Yeah? Right? But sometimes that's how it goes. But it's like role reversal. Crazy thing. But that's Yosef. That is who Yosef is. Yosef has this tremendous bitachon. There's a reason we call Yosef HaTzadik. There's nobody in the Torah, basically, that's known as Tzadik except for Yosef. So if the Torah chooses, not here in the Torah we see, but in Nevi'im he's called Yosef HaTzadik. So if in Nevi'im he's called Yosef HaTzadik, if the prophets call him Yosef HaTzadik, If God calls him the tzaddik, he's obviously not this megalomaniac, crazy guy that needs to fulfill his dreams, that needs to drag his brothers through the dirt so that he can have a bit of a power-hungry moment. That's Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat. That's not reality. That's not who we are. And then when we read about people like this and you understand the depth of their character and you understand how great these people are, then you can understand and you can start saying, okay, now I understand why HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose these people to be his nation. It's not the other way around. Because we always like to think that we understand it. We read the Torah, we understand it, and all these people are weird. Yeah? And God chose a whole bunch of weirdos. He didn't. You have to know how to read the Pasuk. You have to know what's going on. And then you say to yourself, wait, if there's somebody that has such strength of character, why is he doing something that sounds so mean on the other side? Maybe I'm just not getting the right end of the stick. It's really, really important. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. The next thing I want to speak about, very, very important also, Rabbeinu Yerucham, so another thing that he says, he speaks about the following. We speak about embarrassment. We mentioned embarrassment before. And Rabbeinu Yerucham says the following. Yosef says to them, Yosef shows himself to his brothers and says, his brothers couldn't answer him. This is in chapter 45, verse 3, if you want to look it up. Yosef says, brother, I'm Yosef. Is my father still alive? His brothers couldn't answer him. They were in a state of shock. And Rashi says, Mipnei Abusha, because they were embarrassed. Says Rabbeinu Yerucham, I think this is a tremendous yesod, a tremendous idea to understand what, how the Torah looks at certain things. What is busha? What is embarrassment? And what is the correct form of embarrassment or the incorrect form of embarrassment? So if you think about embarrassment, normally when we think about embarrassment, we think about ourselves, I did something, I made a noise, and everybody looked at me, I'm embarrassed. Yeah, very embarrassing. Or, I don't know how old your kids are, but I know, definitely we always used to say this, my sister just joined, she'll know about this. We used to call my father PPP, Peinlich Papi Paul, the very embarrassing daddy. Fathers are like the most embarrassing thing around. Yeah? Do you know what I mean? We always want to, especially as your daughters get older, they're like, oh my goodness, Daddy, are you going to embarrass me? Everybody's always on high alert. What's Daddy going to do now? My son's already said to me, my second son, Meir, I said to him, Meir, what would you like for your bar mitzvah now that you saw Moshe? I said, Daddy, first thing I need to say to you, yeah, don't give a speech like you gave to Moshe. You'll embarrass me. If you get emotionally embarrassed me in front of all my friends. I said, I'm sorry. I don't know if I can do that. I can try. Right? It's very hard. You know what I mean? It's not what's going on. It's not something that you plan. Some people say that they once saw a chazan, he had a siddur, and there was a very emotional part, and it says on the side of the chazan siddur, "V'kana chazan beicha." Here the chazan cries. He puts it in the siddur. They has to give an extra krechts over there. Even extra krechts over there. That's not what it's all about. It's real. I understand. We as parents, we have the ability to embarrass our children like nobody else in the world can. You're standing there. I remember we always used to be embarrassed. My mother used to have the greatest way to do this. And the only person that did. And then one day I was at the airport and somebody did even better than my mother did. And then I said to my, thank God my mother's not as bad. When we used to come in, I don't know about you, we used to be in America. We used to be away from home, 3 months, 4 months at a time sometimes. And then we used to come back to Vienna. And you used to walk through it. You have like this gate that opens up. Everybody's, it's just like, you stand, I hate the other side. You're standing at the door. Oh, not my people again. Not my people again. Yeah, you look, you're looking as the people are walking out of the airport. You're just like, that looks like that. No, it's not. Looks like my suitcase, but it's not them. You're just looking. My mother used to wait, then they used to be, hey! They always like making it, I'm talking about? The big wave. Your father's just like, your mother's like, hey! But then we stood next to a lady, and her son came out, and this was a married son with kids. Here she, it's me! And we're like, oh my gosh. He's probably like, I knew this was going to happen. Why did she decide to come pick me up from it's just so embarrassing. But so be it. So be it. But that's not real busha. Says Rabbeinu Yerucham, embarrassment because other people look at you funny is not really what embarrassment is all about. Because then, some people are embarrassed and some people are not embarrassed. Some people have a better sense of self-esteem, so they do stupid things in public and they don't care, and some people don't have such a good sense of self-esteem, and when somebody does something even tiny, minuscule, minute to them, they get all funny about it. It doesn't make sense. That's not really what the Torah means with embarrassment. So he speaks about, he says, a very important rule about embarrassment. He says embarrassment means, Torah ways of looking at embarrassment, is realizing your failures, realizing your own failings, and then saying to yourself, wait a minute, now there's something to be embarrassed of, right? So let's say, I don't know, you're sitting next to a whole bunch of people and you said something and it wasn't so clever. Oftentimes you get embarrassed by that. But even that seems to come from the same root. Why are you embarrassed? Somebody asked you and you said something. Why are you embarrassed? Because suddenly you go, wait, I'm not as intelligent as I thought I was. There's a certain failing inside you that says, shouldn't have said that. Shouldn't have done that. Now everybody thinks I'm stupid, right? That's true embarrassment. When you realize where you've gone wrong, when you realize that there's something that you're not doing right, or there's something that you're doing wrong maybe, and that other people, and now you stand before God and you say to him, I'm not as good as I thought I was. That's busha. That's real embarrassing. Not what other people think of you, because who really cares what other people think of you? Do you know the famous thing, I've said this before, probably not online, but I've said this before here in shul, is that they always say, from age 13 till age 20, I wanted to show the world I couldn't care less about what they think of me. From age 20 until age 45, I cared about everything that the world thought of me. And at age 45, I realized no one's looking. Right? Who cares? People think everyone's looking at you. Everyone's looking at your car. Everyone's looking at your house. Everyone's looking at your hairdo. Everyone's looking at your suit. People aren't looking. They got too much to worry about themselves. They're not walking into the room and saying like stuff, Michael, I need to see what Michael's doing today. They're not interested. Not that they're uninterested in you. That's not what I mean. It's not that people are saying like, I don't care about you. You can all go to hell. That's not what it is. But if you think people are actually looking at you and trying to figure out every last minute detail of your life, and you did a little thing wrong and you think everyone's looking at you, in honesty, most of the people didn't even see, right? Unless you're the rabbi and sitting in the front of the pulpit. Maybe then, yeah. And even then, not everyone's looking at you. Right? Even as the rabbi, sometimes you sit in front and you think to yourself, oh, everyone's looking at me. Not everyone's looking at you. Plenty of people having a shmooze in shul, plenty of people davening in shul. There's other things going on in shul as well. You're not the main act. Maybe when, pardon?
Not our shul, we'll listen to you.
When I speak. But maybe when I speak, but not the entire davening. There's not 2.5 hours of people looking at you, right? I think I know that. Pardon? Pardon?
You already know that.
Yeah, no, I figured that one out after a while. You can stop looking around like, who's looking? Who's looking? No one's looking. No one's looking? Why is no one looking? Hi, then you start dabbing out loud. You hope someone's going to look. Nothing to do with it. I mean, that's not what it's all about, right?
But people do look at other people's weaknesses.
They do.
Because it helps them to get by with themselves.
Yes, that is true. Yeah. People do look at other people's weaknesses, but again, they will. The question is, will they focus anytime they see somebody? Will they be focusing in on his weaknesses, or is it only if there's a very visible weakness that you say to yourself, "Ooh," Not when every guy walks into shul. Nobody, sometimes you walk into shul and you got a bit of a stain on your tie or on your shirt. You think like you walked into shul, there's like a sign on you, big stain. Yeah, nobody saw it. Maybe 1 or 2 people always got a stain, right? Yeah. Now, if you have a serious weakness, yes, people look at that serious weakness and they will try to make themselves feel better about that serious weakness and looking at you and saying to yourself, he's got that weakness. I'm a lot better than him. Or look down at him. But not every little thing that you think everybody's looking at or that you're embarrassed of is of any interest or any consequence to anybody else. Lots of times people just aren't looking and couldn't care less. Yeah, you say to someone, yeah, you can be sitting next to someone who says, you know, really embarrassed this morning. I drank coffee and I spilled it on my shirt and I had to go to the office. I couldn't. Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Look, didn't realize. Yeah. When you sit next to a guy, he spilled coffee on his shirt. He didn't realize. He wasn't looking. Yeah.
I think it's different for the ladies, though.
It is different for ladies.
Two ladies were wearing the same hat.
Now that I think ladies do realize, ladies are a lot more alert in that way. If I walk, you know, ladies will realize stains or other things on other people's clothing much more than men will. Like, you know, unless my stain is this big, nobody sees it. You know, you walk into shul, unless I'm wearing, like, you know, a purple tie with a big green stain across it, then the people will be like, you know, Rabbis changed his fashion. You know. But women, yeah, women are different that way. You know, women do recognize a lot more. I do find that women also have women focus in a lot more on some of the more minute details that we don't realize. That's 100% true. But that's not what Bush is all about. That's not really what embarrassment is all about. You know, we speak about your own failings and really who you are deep down versus who you should be or who you can be. So, for example, I mean, where is it? Let me see. It was somewhere here. There it is. Sorry. Can I get this one? When you look in Shulchan Aruch, the first halacha in Shulchan Aruch is an amazing thing. He doesn't bring this. I'm surprised he doesn't bring this. But the first halacha in Shulchan Aruch, the first halacha in Orach Chaim in daily living. Where are we? Oh, it's one of these. It takes ages to find it. Here. So he starts off the following. The Ramah, the Ramos Erselis, who wrote the Hagos, who wrote the extras, the Ashkenazi bits and Ashkenazi minhagim on the Shulchan Aruch, writes the following. Shivisa Hashem lenegdi samad, I've placed Hashem before me always, which is a great rule in Torah and in the way that tzaddikim behave, which go before God. Because when a person is at home and the way he behaves is not going to be the same thing as he's behaving if he were invited into the palace, right? If you're invited to the palace, everything is measured. When you're at home, no big deal. You do whatever you want, right? And Kol Shekain, so how much more so before Kadosh Baruch Hu, who's the entire world is filled by Kadosh Baruch Hu, who sees everything that you do. And no matter how much you hide yourself, God will know what's going on. And then he continues. Part 2 of this is, a person should not be embarrassed before those people that make fun of him in his davening or in his learning or in his doing mitzvahs, whatever it might be. You might be doing things HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You might be doing things that are the right things, and people look at you and they laugh and they say, look at this frummer, right? Whatever they're going to say about you, look at him. Look how silly he looks. Or look at the silly things that he does. So you shouldn't be embarrassed. Why? Because that's what the halacha is saying. Don't be embarrassed in front of other people. If you know you're doing the right thing, if that's what you call embarrassment, let's say you're doing the right thing and the entire world laughs at you. The entire world thinks you're a fool. Right? Are you really going to be embarrassed just because everybody else is laughing at you? You know, sadly, yes. Rav Amnon Yitzchak gives an amazing mashal. He tells an amazing story. He says the following story. He says there was once a fellow that got caught. He tells us before Rosh Hashanah. There was a fellow who got caught. And he'd done something wrong, and he's on trial. And they sentenced him to 10 years in prison. So 10 years in prison. He's like, oh my goodness, 10 years in prison. And the judge bangs them, his mallet down, and they shush everybody. And the judge looks at the defendant and he says to the defendant, you deserve 10 years in prison. I'm giving you a chance now. You cry for 10 minutes straight and show me that you have remorse. And I will go ahead and I will wipe away for every minute that you cry. I will wipe away another year. The guy goes, really? And he bursts into tears and he starts crying. I'm so sorry. And he's crying and he's crying. And this is an Israeli speaker. So you have to understand the Israeli mentality in this entire thing. And after about 3 or 4 minutes, one of his friends comes over and goes, Oi! What do you like? A woman? A baby? What are you crying like that for? Aren't you embarrassed? You should be embarrassed yourself. We're all laughing at you back here. You wuss. And so the guy goes, I'm not a wuss. I'm not going to cry. I'm not having everyone laugh at me. And the judge says, you got 5 minutes left. He goes, I'm not crying. I'm not a wuss. I'm not embarrassed. I'm not going to get embarrassed in front of all those. It's last chance. I'm not crying. All right. 5 years into jail. Cried for 5 minutes, 5 years jail. Right? Then he spent a long time crying in jail. Yeah? He says, what a busha, what a terrible thing to be. He got embarrassed over there. Who was he embarrassed from? His friends? His embarrassment from his friends caused him 5 years in jail. He says the same thing is true when it comes to tshuva. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to people, he says, I would like you to repent. And his friends say, what, are you going to be all firm now? You're going to start going to shul? What's next? You're not going to go to restaurants with us? Then you're not going to discuss sports or fun? You're going to become like some kind of veg or something. Right? And he goes, no, I'm not going to become a veg. I'm not going to do tshuva. I'm not going to do anything for God. No, I'm with you guys. They cry later. Yeah? That busha, that embarrassment that he has over here, that he's not going to look good in front of his friends, it's going to cost him. It could cost him big time. And therefore he's saying, that busha, that embarrassment that you have over here, that Shulchan Aruch said, don't look at other people and say, oh, I'm embarrassed in front of them. They look at me funny. Who are they anyway? They're so important, they think you've done something. If you know you've done something right, then why are other people so important to you? If you really know it's right. That's what real busha is. That's what real embarrassment is. And I think from there you move on to also, by the way, and where this will finish, is what's tznius? If you think about tznius, modesty. People often say, what's the big deal? So, it's hot out, or a woman wants to wear what she wants to wear, and, it's her choice, etc., etc. 100%. It is her choice. Yeah, she wants to choose. She can wear whatever she wants to. She can. But think about it. You're going out and you're showing yourself off. Are you not embarrassed that this is all you have to say about yourself? They say a famous story. There was once a woman that was, she was meant to have a big interview, a very big business interview. And she called her friend in, and they're going through her wardrobe to find the perfect outfit. And her friend pulled out this skimpy little thing and said to her, why don't you wear this? She goes, what do you mean? Why don't I wear this? I'm not going to wear that. Why not? She said, because I'm going to walk into the office, and the head, the CEO, is going to look at me. He's going to think I'm some kind of, some free woman or something. I don't want to give him that impression. I want to come in and look like a businesswoman. I want to look like somebody serious. So her friend was a bit more religious, Esther, and when you meet anybody else, you want to give them that impression. It's only the CEO of your company that you want to impress and show them that you're not a free woman. You're not a free woman for anybody. And the same is true, by the way, tznius applies to men also. When you see guys that walk down the street, as soon as the sun shines, their vest comes off. Where's the seichel? First of all, it's freezing cold out. This is Manchester. It's not the Riviera, all right? I'm sorry to ruin your party. It is only 5 or 7 degrees out. Yes, the sun might be shining, but everybody else is freezing cold. And no, you are white, and you will remain white. You can have your shirt on for the next 20 years. You'll still be white, or you'll be red because you'll be burned. You won't look brown. You got British complexion, okay? What are they doing that for? Is that all you have to say for yourself? Look at me. What, you have a body?
Tattoos.
Tattoos. Show you tattoos also. But that's not who you are. Deep down, that's not what you should be proud of. If that's where the busha comes from. There's certain embarrassment saying, like, I have so many failings inside me. I have so many things that I have wrong with me. And the best face that I could put forward is, yeah, but look, I got a really slim, waistline. I got a really nice looking arms. That's all you have to say about yourself. You want to put forward a better face than that. You want to show that there's more to you. There's more to you as a human being than showing off your six-pack, as a man. It's low. That's what you should be embarrassed of. That's what somebody be embarrassed of, not somebody who makes a stupid comedy about you in the pub. That's worthless. Who cares what somebody else said? Think about yourself. There's so many things, so many failings, so many things wrong. Why are we highlighting the wrong things about ourselves? Why are we giving people the wrong message about ourselves rather than highlighting the right message and trying to bring ourselves up and trying to highlight the important and the good things about ourselves rather than highlighting the bad things about ourselves or trying to show the wrong things about ourselves? Again, we're going to finish with this. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you everyone for coming. And publicly, Mazel Tov to Roger on his granddaughter's wedding tonight. Mazel Tov. And it's lovely that you came to join us. And Mitzvah Hashem, we look forward to your son coming in a couple of days. We'll have Shabrachs in here and everything. And shall have only Mazel and Bracha from this one and from all the others.
Amen. We'll say for everybody.
Amen.